Welcome back to another episode of the Draw Control Podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by Charlotte women's lacrosse player Hailey O'Donoghue. Hailey previously played for Florida Southern College, where she has played in 32 games, had 4 goals, 26 ground balls, 23 caused turnovers, and 12 draw controls. Before college, Hailey was a three-time All-League selection in high school. She was also was the team MVP in 2021 and 2022 and recorded over 200 points in her high school career. And we're super excited to have her on the podcast today. So, welcome to the Draw Control Podcast, Hailey. And how is everything going?
Everything's going great. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Hailey. I really appreciate it. Now, obviously, you're in the middle of fall semester right now during this recording. So, how is fall ball going for yourself and for your team so far this semester?
Yeah, so fall has been going great. We've had two. We're going on our third play day now. We were just in Vanderbilt and we had a couple games over there. It's looking really good, especially for a first year program. So it's really exciting to see what's going to happen this season coming up. And I think me personally, I've definitely been learning a lot of things, especially from so many transfers coming from so many different schools. So it's really exciting.
That's awesome. Did you get the chance to explore Nashville at all?
I didn't honestly. It was a very quick business trip.
All right, all right. Well, next time you go down there, I feel like you got to try to make some time to do that if you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, like you mentioned, obviously there's so many new players on your on your team and t players that you haven't played with before. So how have you gotten the chance to know each other and build up that chemistry?
It's actually been going really good, and the chemistry is definitely flowing very quickly. Um, at least on the defensive end, we have a very small group, but it just makes it easier to play together and to work together. And there's just so many different backgrounds, so I feel like no matter the age, we're all learning from each other and just learning different ways to play. So it's really interesting to see how this is going to go.
Now, what are some things that you've been working on this summer and in the fall to get ready for next season?
Something that I like to really focus on, especially in the summer, is speed and agility, I'd say, at least on the defensive end, and then just wall ball, because I just feel like it's really important to be confident to be a ball carrier on defense. Um, but yeah, I definitely say just endurance and speed for me was a big focus this summer. I did a college summer league on Long Island, which was definitely really helpful playing with a bunch of different girls that I've never played with before.
Nice, nice. That must have been fun because there's always a lot of good players that are out in Long
Yeah.
Island during the summer. So now speaking of summer, how was your summer? Did you do anything interesting, whether it was lacrosse related or not?
Yeah, summer was good. It was really nice to be home. Honestly, just hung out, went to the beach, did a lot I work, so I worked all summer, just getting ready for this year.
Nice. Where did you work?
I'm a bartender in the Hampton Bays area.
Nice, nice. That must have been a lot of fun to do that.
Definitely.
Any cool stories you can share on the podcast from that, or I assume not?
Maybe not. It's definitely fun working there. Uh, Gets you ready for college, having some money in your pocket. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, let's talk about your recent transfer to Charlotte. So, what made you end up deciding to go in the portal and leave Florida Southern College, and what ended up making you decide to go to Charlotte for this upcoming season?
Yeah, so I'd say for the entirety of my sophomore year at Florida Southern, I definitely was considering transferring after season was over. Um, just talking to my family about it nonstop and just close friends who were considering the same thing. Um, I'd say the portal is definitely intimidating, but I think that's just because change is intimidating. But it's really not as bad as people think it is. Um, but yeah, I had a very good run my first 2 years at Florida Southern. I'd say they were pretty successful. And it kind of just came down to just differences with coaching and then just scholarships, I'd say. Um, I feel like as a student athlete, like we're balancing so many different things. And I'd say it was mainly because just again, differences with coaching and just that didn't really align for me. And then I'd say, yeah, like I was a 2 year starter pretty much the first 2 years. So I didn't have any scholarship. And I just feel like you feel kind of underappreciated with not having a scholarship. And like obviously Division 2 doesn't have as much funding, so that came into play as well. And then just kind of knowing my potential could be utilized elsewhere was a big component of it. I'd say it wasn't an easy decision, but I'm definitely very happy with my decision transferring. I definitely don't regret anything being at Florida Southern or even committing there. Like it was the best 2 years that I've had. But then kind of switching over into the Charlotte end of it, Charlotte was definitely like top of the list for me throughout the whole summer, like doing my recruiting again. And I'd say it was the coaching staff here is very impressive, and that was something that really drew me here. And I just think the way that they want to utilize me and that they are utilizing me, it just kind of like aligns with everything they said, and like still it is. Um, just kind of a fresh start for me. And then I definitely say a big component was jumping from Division 2 to Division 1 is super exciting. And like I'm very, very excited to see how this season goes. Um, and then I'd say the biggest component for choosing Charlotte was definitely like being a pioneer for a new program and making our own culture, making our own wins, our own traditions, and everything like that. So that was, I think it's something really special to be a part of a first year program. So that's definitely exciting for me. And Charlotte just felt like the right place on and off the field. So that's kind of what it ended up being.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the main differences you've noticed between D2 and D1? I assume not that many because it seems like it's pretty even playing field based on the games that I've watched.
I definitely say just from like being in fall ball, it's a little faster paced in that aspect of it. But I feel like coming from such a high level Division 2 to now Division 1, it's pretty even playing field. Like I definitely don't feel like a Division 2 player, like I don't belong or anything like that. But again, I just think that's because like I came from a team that was super successful and was super fast paced and just one of the best in our division. So
Now, what are your goals and expectations with Charlotte for next season?
um goals are definitely like we don't care what I personally don't care, and I don't think any of my teammates or coaching staff do. Like we don't care what name is on a jersey. Like we don't care who we're playing or who's ranked what. Like our goal this year is to win and to make it as far as possible. And I definitely don't have any doubt that we're not going to be able to do that. Um, but just I'm definitely just super excited, like I've said a million times, just to be playing with a new team and kind of nobody knows who Charlotte Women's Lacrosse is, and no one knows anything about us or what we're capable of. And I definitely think that we can be looked at as like an underdog, but that just makes it even more fun for when season comes. So I think there's no doubt for us. So I think it's going to be a good season.
Now, let's transition now and talk about the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of work all the way up to where you are today. So you're from New York. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so I just feel like growing up in New York, especially Long Island, like everyone knows that Maryland and Long Island are like the hot spots for lacrosse. So I think playing lacrosse wasn't even a question. It was just something that was going to happen. I definitely like had a stick in my hand when I was like 3, I'd say, and then really jumped into it just I guess when I was like 5 years old. Um, did PAL and everything like that. I did play for Team 91 for most of like my younger years and then transitioned over to FLG. Um, I played on a men's league for 3 years, I'd say, in middle school. Just having 4 brothers was kind of the reason why. So I played on a team with them, which was super fun and something no one really knows. I guess that's where I get like my style of play. And then I went to high school at St. John the Baptist for my 4 years of high school, and that was super fun. I was on varsity since my freshman year. And I really did grow up around lacrosse. Like everyone that I was friends with played, every girl, guy I was friends with played, and all ended up going to college for it. So it's kind of just been all I knew. I did play other sports, but lacrosse always was the one that I was primarily focused on.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, you have 4 brothers. One of them, Sean, played lacrosse at Farley Dickinson. So I have to ask, what's it like being the only girl in your family, and how did your brother sort of help you in your lacrosse career?
Yeah, so my brother played at Fairleigh Dickinson, and then my other brother played at a JUCO college on Long Island, and then played at Wingate. So I think it definitely shaped who I am and just again like my style of play. Um, I wouldn't be where I am without them. I think they're the reason that I am the way I am. Like there was always just a goal to be better than them, faster than them, stronger than them. And we were always super competitive, always playing. Um, so I think just like watching them and growing up and seeing what they were doing and everything, like I just wanted to be that and I wanted to be that and more. So I think they were just huge role models throughout my whole lacrosse career and just the goals that I set and that I wanted.
And growing up, who were your favorite lacrosse players and teams that you like to watch?
I'd say Sammy Joe Tracy was definitely one of my favorites. I used to take the draw, so I used to watch her a lot and did some training with her, I'd say. And then I really liked Taylor Cummings. Lacrosse, like who I watched, I'd say was definitely Stony Brook, just being from Long Island, like where I was always at those games, and Syracuse I really liked, and then UNC were my top three that I would always watch.
Now, before college, like you mentioned, you played for your high school at St. John the Baptist. Talk about your high school lacrosse days, what you took away from it. What's like your favorite memory from your high school lacrosse, I guess, experience overall?
Yeah, so I was actually an attacker before I entered college. So I've been an attacker midi since I started playing. So I really had a really successful season in high school too. Like, um, I'd say my favorite memory was probably playing Sacred Heart Academy and beating them. And it was the first time we had beaten them in like 15 years. So I think that was definitely my favorite memory from high school. Um, I'd say I had a like decently small team, and I think only like two or three of us went on to play college across my senior year from my senior class. So there's only a few of us that actually went on to college to play. Um, I really liked my coaches. One of my coaches played at Adelphi, and then my other assistant coach, she played at Towson, and she was like four-time All-American, like super successful too. So I had really good coaches to look up to and had great relationships with them.
Now, you, like you mentioned, also you played for various club teams throughout your time before college, but I think the one that stands out, the one you played with the most was FLG Club. So, how did your club lacrosse experience sort of help prepare you for college?
Yeah, so I played for Team 91 growing up and then switched over to FLG. Um, my experience with them was really good. I switched over, I'd say like sophomore year of high school, so like right when recruiting was kind of starting. And it was one of the best decisions just because FLG, their directors have really great connections. Like Corey Winkoff was really big in helping me with the recruiting process and just made sure that we were at the best tournaments all the time. And that definitely helped in my recruiting process.
Now, let's talk about your initial recruiting process to Florida Southern University. And so, what was that like? What was that process like for yourself, and what made you want to go there versus the schools you might have looked at?
I think that the dream for every like lacrosse player is like the goal is Division 1, but like when I started going through the recruiting process, I was leaning more towards Division 2 throughout all the schools that I looked at. So I was also really late in the game for recruiting just because I honestly just took my time with it. And I did a lot of camps with schools and I did a camp with Florida Southern. And I'd say that that feeling that you get when you step on campus was immediately there. And then just learning about how successful they are and how far in the tournament that they went every year, like that was definitely something that I was interested in. And then obviously being in Florida was a big draw for me.
And what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse as a freshman?
Obviously, just getting used to being away from home is really tough, and then trying to balance everything. It's not something that you're used to. And then I'd say lacrosse wise, it's like you're not the big fish in the little pond anymore. Um, you kind of have to like earn your keep and really prove yourself, especially as a freshman. So that was a big adjustment, just trying to build myself up the ladder. It was definitely something that you have to battle with and figure out. But once you get that down, then you kind of just get comfortable and you just play your game.
Now let's talk about your freshman year. So in your freshman year, your team lost to U Tampa in the Sunshine State Conference Championship game in overtime, but then you guys got revenge against them in the NCAA tournament to advance to the semifinals. Just talk about your freshman year, what you took away from that season and your performance, and what it was like playing in the NCAA tournament for the first time.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I was an attacker going into my college career. And honestly, up until I'd say spring season, I was an attacker. And then I switched over to defense. Um, so I'd say I really started playing end of March, April of my freshman year, which is kind of when conference play came in. And the thing with playing in the Sunshine State Conference is just like you see a lot of the teams a few times throughout. So we did end up playing Tampa, I'd say 3 or 4 times that year, which it's definitely tough mentally and physically to play the same team over and over again. They are and were a big rivalry. So it was always a super fun game and like there was always a lot of fans just because of that rivalry. Um, yeah, losing to them in overtime was definitely tough. We all played the best that we could, and I think Tampa definitely had a really good game as well. And it's always kind of been like that with our schools. Um, Losing to them in the Sunshine State Conference like championship game, obviously like no one ever wants to lose in a conference, but our kind of thing that we kept saying was we would rather lose to them then than lose to them in the regional game, which is what really mattered to us because we were just thinking of like the bigger picture. Like, yeah, we didn't get the trophy that said Sunshine State Conference champions, but like we ended up going further than them, which leads me into regional play. I think we just really honed in on everything that we lacked in that game. And even though it was such a good game, I don't think it was like our best showing. Um, we focused a lot on defense on just like key players and like what we could do to get those key players out, I guess you could say. So just really focusing on that for us. Um, Offensively, they had a day and they clicked that day too. And then we did also. So it just was really fortunate for us. And we ended up going on a run against them. And then we just knew that we were going to the NCAA tournament. And it's such a like I can't even explain the feeling of that, especially as a freshman and like being a part of that win. Like it was so surreal and like you get to run over and get your ticket that you punched and like I honestly had no idea what I was going into. Like going into the tournament, you're kind of like oblivious unless you've been there before. So I was just super excited and super pumped. And then going into the tournament, even though we lost against Pace, like it's such an insane feeling, like being a part of that and being the final four left in your division. So as much as it sucked to lose, like it really was super cool and super exciting. And I think we all kind of left feeling the same way, just like super grateful to be there and just an unforgettable experience, especially as a freshman.
Yeah, talk about what it was like playing in the Sunshine State Conference. I feel like that's probably the best conference in Division Two. If you look at some of the teams that you play, they at least one team usually makes it to the Final Four in Division Two every year, it feels like.
Yeah. Sunshine State is definitely, I would agree, like one of the best conferences in Division Two, and it's just super competitive. Um, I just feel like every team is just growing so fast and just getting better and better. Like when I first got there, like everyone always told me it's going to be us in Tampa, and that's what it was. And then each game that we played was against a new team, and I'd say like they definitely grew from freshman year to sophomore year. I feel like it wasn't just UT and FSC anymore that was competing. It was pretty much everyone in that conference, or almost everyone. And the games weren't easy at all, I would say. Like they definitely aren't easy. And I just think there's something about that conference that's just so fast paced and so aggressive that like other conferences didn't have that just kind of had we all had a leg up on them. And I think especially playing in the heat, like we were able to play in pretty much every like any climate, which was really big for us. Like hosting teams from the north down by us, like we definitely had a leg up too because they just can't withstand the heat. So I'd say that the Sunshine State Conference is, and I think will continue to grow to be one of the best conferences in that division.
And I assume players like yourself have advantage in the cooler weather as well, since you're from New York. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what climate the games play, you know how to sort of handle that.
yeah, definitely.
Now, obviously, academics is such a big part of being a lacrosse player in college. So, how did you balance lacrosse and academics at such a high level with Florida Southern and now with Charlotte?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to adjust to, and it's something that scares players, but it's kind of like depending on your major and just depending on how much workload comes with that, like it's definitely doable and it's definitely like something you can handle. Um, Spring season obviously is when I like to have a lighter course load, which is what I typically do, or just more online classes. It's just easier to balance. Um, I like to just make sure that I am focusing on academics because at the end of the day, like that is what I'm here for. Like I am here for my career and like the academic path that I want. So I think it's really easy to get tied up into having a one set mindset for lacrosse and sometimes forgetting academics, but just kind of doing stuff ahead of time or whenever you have free time so that you can just relax and hang out after lacrosse.
Now, what was your favorite memory with Florida Southern when you look back on it now?
I think my favorite memory was definitely like the NCAA tournament and just regionals. And I think like we end up like you end up staying for an extra month pretty much compared to normal students. So I think just that month of like it just being us and us all being together is super cool. But I think in more depth, like my favorite memory was when you get to your hotel for the tournament. We went into a little like conference room and we had all these videos meshed together from our families just wishing us good luck. And then I think with that, um, like the farewell goodbye when we were on our way to the first NCAA game, like all the families lined up was definitely one of my favorite memories.
Now, when you look back on your time with Florida Southern, what would you say has been the biggest improvement you've made to your game throughout your time there, and how do you think that's helped during your time with Charlotte as of now?
I think honestly, like I've grown as a player physically and like my skill and my IQ has definitely grown and developed more. But I'd say a lot of times I think the mental part of college sports definitely can beat you down. So I think like my mental game has definitely improved, just like having that next play mentality, like, okay, I messed up, but it's fine. Like there's going to be a next play and like, it's not the end of the world. So I think that that's something that I definitely focused on from my freshman year. Because if you don't have that, like you're not going to be yourself. You're not going to be a good player. So I think your mental game is really important.
Absolutely. I feel like players who have play with confidence no matter when the season's going up or down seem to be the best players on the field because they know how to sort of handle things mentally, which is important and I feel like doesn't get talked about enough in regards to like student athletics and just sports in general.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are you going to take away from your time with Florida Southern College just overall?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, absolutely. So like what will you take away from your whole overall experience at Florida Southern College?
I think definitely I've definitely changed completely as a player and grown as a player. Like I don't think without that program I'd be where I am. My assistant coach Rachel Ortell like definitely shaped me to be like the defender I am because obviously I wasn't that at all. Like I was an attacker. So I think that was definitely big and that's how I am where I am right now. Um, but I think just something like the biggest thing that I gained from them was so much experience and was so many like being on such a huge stage all the time for like just huge games like the tournament, regionals, conference, like always being a part of that the past 2 years, like having that experience definitely prepped me for now where I am.
So let's move on to a segment I like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where I ask you some non-lacrosse questions to get to know you more off the field. And I'll answer some of these as well because I think it'll be a fun conversation to have. So first question is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
I think either Jennifer Aniston or Kate Hudson.
Nice. I
Yeah.
would say, I don't know. I don't know any actors that look like me, so I feel like it would be funny if Ryan Gosling played me in a movie just because we look nothing alike. So I could just brag to people that he played me in a movie. It would be kind of funny. So
Yeah.
I'll go with him. Now, which team has the best college lacrosse jerseys?
Um, I never thought this because I never really like watched their games, but my roommate is a transfer from Virginia Tech, and I think that I love their colorway, and I think that their jerseys are like the coolest. But then I also like just like UNC's,
Yeah,
like their blue.
absolutely. That's a common answer for a lot of players. I'll go with John Hopkins. They're very similar to UNC, but they have like a nice alternate black jersey with the blue lettering, and I think that looks really cool.
I really like our, obviously I love our jerseys. Like
Mhm.
our jerseys just got dropped. Like they just announced them and I think they're really cool also. Like the
Nice,
green.
nice. Which one is your favorite, the home or road one? I feel like the road ones are usually cooler because they have more color in them.
Yeah, I like the road ones definitely.
Now, obviously, the holiday season's coming up with Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas on the horizon. So, what is your most underrated holiday and what's the most overrated holiday in your opinion?
I think that the most underrated holiday is Thanksgiving. And then I think the most overrated is Easter. Like,
Ooh,
I don't know. I just think it's like Easter.
that's a hot take. I love Easter. I think it's
I
kind of
know.
fun to just have something like in the springtime. So I always enjoy that holiday. And it's also just I always just like hanging out with friends and family. So it's just you don't really get that as much, I feel like, during the spring as you do in the summer and
Yeah, that's
winter. So that's why I always liked Easter. I would say underrated for me is Christmas Eve. I feel like Christmas is
true.
super fun, but Christmas Eve, there's all the hype around Christmas and it's
So
just
true.
a really fun holiday. I don't know if it's considered like an official holiday, but I always enjoy
No,
that.
definitely. I
And
agree.
then overrated is Halloween for me because I feel like once you turn a certain age, you can't really
True.
do all the funnest part about Halloween, which is trick or treating. So, I feel like the only thing I do is carve pumpkins now, and that's about it. So it's not as fun as it used to be. So that's what I'll go with for most overrated.
That's true. Okay.
Now, what's been the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
I think the most interesting is just everything with the hurricane in Florida, honestly. Just like
Yeah.
obviously a lot of my friends are down there and just see, like I remember I got evacuated my freshman year and I think it was like a category 2 or 3. So this was pretty bad and definitely scary. So I think that's the most interesting thing I've seen this week.
Definitely, definitely. Well, hope all your friends are okay. It seemed like it was pretty bad from what I was seeing on the news. So
Yeah.
hopefully people are okay and safe and hopefully the recovery takes not that long and people can go back to like living their normal lives and operating their businesses once again. Because I feel like that's a part that people don't think about is like your livelihood's whole is just
Mhm.
gone after like one day and you have to find a way to rebuild that and that could be tough. So yeah, really sad to see that and just the damage that's done. So hopefully everyone's okay in Florida from that hurricane. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say for me, I've been taking this music class this semester, and we've learned a lot of interesting things, particularly with classical music, which is a genre of music I don't really listen to as much compared to some other genres. And it's just been really interesting to learn about Mozart and Bach and all these different composers. And I think the most interesting thing was sort of how Mozart like started when he was like a toddler, and he wrote like these pieces when he was like 5 years old. And it's just unbelievable to see like someone who's that young create such beautiful music. So that was
Yeah.
really interesting to learn about. And then the song Canon in D, which is a popular wedding song that a lot of people play. It's kind of
Mhm.
sad because the guy who wrote it like never got to see how big it became. And I thought that was pretty interesting to learn about. Like someone who made such a great piece of music didn't even get to see it like be popular, which is kind of sad, but it was interesting to learn about. And it's definitely a fun class that I've enjoyed taking.
Nice.
Now, who has the best off the field style on the Charlotte women's lacrosse team?
Um, we were actually just talking about this. I think I got voted as the best, but if I wasn't to pick myself, I think I'd say Allie Praisnos, who is a transfer from Louisville. I think I would trade styles with her, I think.
Nice, nice. Well, since I haven't interviewed anyone else besides yourself from your team, I'm gonna go with Hailey O'Donoghue for that answer. Now, last non-lacrosse question is if you could play, oh, two more. If you could play a game with any professional sports team, who would it be?
Oh God. Professional sports team.
While you think about your answer, I'll give mine, and I
Yeah,
would say the Bruins. I'm a big hockey fan, and I'd
okay.
love to play a game with them. I feel like that would be a lot of fun.
I think maybe like a football team, so maybe the Giants. I would want to play with them. Even
Oh,
if I get crushed.
oh, big
Oh,
Patriots fan. That's tough to hear from me. I'm sorry.
to see.
Well, I think they're both in the same spot right now, so I can't really brag about anything, but and it's the one Super Bowls I can't brag about because the Giants have beat us every time. I feel like the Patriots have been to a Super Bowl, so at least you could say that Eli Manning is better in the Super Bowl than Tom Brady, which mo no quarterback can say that.
That's true.
Now, last non-lacrosse question is, what is one item on your bucket list that you hope to accomplish one day?
Hmm. Um, I feel like everyone says travel, but definitely travel. And then on like a smaller scale, since I only have 2 years of college left, like I hope um whatever career I end up doing that I'm just super successful in it. So just a smaller
Absolutely.
reach goal.
What's your major?
Right now I'm a communications major, but I'm a concentration in marketing.
Nice. I'm also a communications
Oh,
major as
really?
well. That's really cool. Yeah. Do you have any idea of like what you want to sort of do with that degree after you graduate?
I'm between like marketing and then medical sales right
Oh,
now.
nice, nice. Well, I obviously know that you're going to be successful in whatever you decide to do, so I wish you all the best, but that's pretty cool. Big fan of your major. I'd say I'm not biased. I think it's the best major to have in
It is, yeah,
college.
I agree.
Now let's get back to some lacrosse questions now. First one is what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
I think right now the 2028 Olympics is definitely going to be something that grows the game for us. And I think the timing of it is just so explosive and I think it's going to be a trickle effect. Like once this happens, I think there's going to be more to come for us, especially as female athletes. Um, I think it's just like such a big stage that so many people that one haven't seen the game or don't even know what it is are going to know what it is. And I think it's just going to grow more publicity for us because I think women's sports just overall don't really get looked at as much. And then I think just women's lacrosse overall just needs more media organizations and content and time and viewership because we are college athletes, we are professional athletes. So I think that we definitely deserve that platform and that audience. So,
Now, last question I have for you, Haley, is do you have any shout outs you want to give and who should we have on the podcast next?
um, shout outs. I think maybe I don't have someone specific. Well, I think maybe someone in my new conference would be really cool. Um, I do have a friend on JMU that I think maybe that would be funny or cool for her to do it. I don't know if she would, but her name's Olivia Rongo, so we'll end up playing each other this year, which will be super fun.
Nice, nice. We'll definitely try to reach out and see if what she has to say. But I just want to say, Haley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and taking time out of your day. I really appreciate it. I think you're a great player, but an even better person as well. And I just want to let you know that. And obviously, I wish you all the best for the upcoming season and with your communications degree as well. I know you're going to be
Yeah,
super
you too.
successful in whatever you decide to do. And I know that's definitely the goal on your bucket list that I know you're going to accomplish one day. So looking forward to seeing it myself.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.